Moin, ihr wunderbare Menschen des Interwebs. Ich begrüße euch ganz herzlich zurück zu meinem Let's Play von The Great Ace-Attorney Chronicles. Wir sind im letzten Part hier stehen geblieben und wollten uns jetzt einmal die Aussage von diesen beiden Dieben hier anhören. Und gucken mal, was sie zu sagen haben. We was walking down Baker Street in the small hours and the gift's door was ajar, see? It was like some kind of sign begging for us to go in, it was... But once we got inside, kerblimly-lumly, we heard a gunshot from the back room. We went to see what was what, but the door was locked from the inside. We never done nothing, Governor. We never took nothing. We just left after that, nice and quiet. A terrible coincidence, it would seem. At the precise moment these miscreants entered the property, an even more sinister crime was afoot. The witness's testimony is consistent with the crime scene in every detail. The door providing access to the storeroom from the main shop was indeed locked from the inside, and within only the victim and the accused were found. I must say, it does appear to be an overwhelmingly simple case. Still, the defense may cross-examine the witnesses now, of course. Counsel, if you please. Counsel? Yes. What's the matter, Runo? Sorry, I was just stunned into silence for a minute by the blatant lies being told by that pair in the sand. I know that's all nonsense, because I saw it with my own eyes. I will just have to expose their testimony for the pack of lies it is. Stimmt. Einer von den beiden hat auf uns geschossen, also er hat ja dann Holmes getroffen. Aber einer von den beiden hat einen Schuss abgefeuert. Okay, hören wir uns das einmal an. The front door of Winniebank's was ajar, you say? What time of night was this? Must have been about 1, right, Ringo? Yeah, I would say so. Right, Sulky? Oops. How would I know? The place would have been shut at 1 in the morning, just like every other shop in town. Well, it was pitch black inside, it's true, ain't it right, Ringo? I'm not so sure, Nash. I seem to remember a little light burning inside. What about you, Sulky? Me older mucker? Mucker? Whatever. Leave me alone. There definitely was a small lamp burning inside. That's what alerted us to the situation in the first place. And when these gentlemen ventured into the open establishment, the accused, Miss Gina Lestrade, already had the muzzle of her gun trained on the unfortunate victim. That is pure conjecture. Perhaps, but it changes nothing. These brothers inadvertently wandered into the middle of a cold-blooded murder, simply because they found the door of the victim's establishment open and ventured inside. Right, that's what happened. Looks like some kind of sign begging for us to go in. Okay, das ist nicht so wichtig. But what's gone inside? Corblimly-lumly, we heard a gunshot from the back room. A gunshot, you say? Just the one? Are you sure about that? Yup, just the one, Governor. I can swear to that. It was Nash, it was. Ain't that right, bruv? The firearm used belonged to the victim himself. Yes, Mr. Winniebank always used to leave his gun lying around on the counter. Right, I remember. When we examined it, we found the revolver was completely out of rounds. That makes sense. Mr. Winniebank always used to say he only ever kept a single bullet loaded. That's true, I remember him saying that as well. So we can say with considerable certainty that only a single round was discharged from the firearm used as the murder weapon. Yes, my lord, we can. And I should remind the court that the firearm in question was discovered in the hand of the accused. Wonderful. Went to see what was what, but the door was locked from the inside. Do you mean the door between the main shop and the storeroom? If my learned friend is having difficulty grasping the situation, perhaps a drawing would help. Excluding the shop's entrance from the street, there is only one other door, that of the storeroom. First, there was only a little oil lamp burning, not much to see by. And the door was hidden behind the curtain and all. That's right. When we arrived, the door was mostly obscured by the curtain. Tell me, why exactly did you try to open the door? Any normal petty thief would run at the sound of a gunshot, I should think. Oh, well, your turn to rabbit, Ringo. Well, Nash, yeah. I suppose you'd have to say we ain't normal, huh? Broadly speaking, humans respond in one of two ways on hearing a gunshot or scream. The timid flee, gripped by fear, while the courageous investigate to see if they might help. These gentlemen are of the latter inclination. My learned Nipponese friend, it would seem, is of the former. Alright, somehow I just proved that I was a coward that night. Thank you, counsels. So, I believe we all understand that the door was locked and could not be opened. Proceed, witnesses. Okay, we never done nothing, Governor. We never took nothing. We just left after that. Nice and quiet. Das ist eine Lüge. You didn't do or take anything. Is that your story? Well, it was Bedlam Sooners, weren't it? It was, Nash, it was. I didn't even have time to pull me dukes out me Lucy lockets. So with no time to take your hands out of your pockets, you just left. Nice and quietly, you say? That's right, Governor. Nothing we add more than violence. Peace-loving nipplers, we are no bludgers. We are, Nash, we are. Never even pulled me dukes out my Lucy pocket. So, you'd clearly like us to believe... Come again. As you fled from the pawnbrokers that night, did you not run into anyone else? And did you not fire a gun at that person? Saints alive, they fired a gun, you say? Blimley, Governor. You ain't telling us it was you in the doorway? It was. Why the bleeding Nora? Didn't you mention that before? You were armed with a gun, and as you fled the scene, you fired that gun at London's greatest detective, Sherlock Holmes. On the night in question, this pair were arrested by the police within minutes of the discovery of the crime scene. Their suspicious countenance rapidly gave them away. And when searched, a firearm was indeed found in their possession. Furthermore, the barrel shows signs of a shot having been fired from it. The prosecution invites his lordship to examine the firearm recovered from these brothers. Yes, indeed, remnants of powder around the muzzle, as you say, counsel. The court will hold this weapon as evidence. Okay. Now, my lord Nipponese friend. Yes. Here's to you successfully presenting the evidence. For, yes, there are the telltale signs of spent powder on this gun and a single bullet missing from the cylinder, but the prosecution demands evidence that it was fired at the scene of the crime under scrutiny in this trial. Well, I don't need evidence, because I was there. However, the rest of us in this courtroom were not. If the defense fails to provide evidence in support of its rash claim, we shall have no choice but to toast your incompetence and move on. Evidence that these two fired that gun before they left the Windy Banks that night. The court demands that all claims are affirmed with clear proof. What evidence shows that these witnesses unloaded a firearm in the pawnbroker's shop that night? Da haben wir eigentlich nur unsere Samples. The evidence is in this portfolio. What on earth have you there, counsel? During the course of our investigations, we discovered a number of bloodstains. Not trusting the police to do the job they are trained to do? How arrogantly Nipponese of you. Well, anyway, we analyzed all the blood samples we found and recorded the results in this portfolio. And you claim to have the evidence the court is demanding therein? Yes, my lord. No more dallying then, counsel. Present the pertinent evidence at once. What do you have in your portfolio that proves that these witnesses unloaded a firearm at this scene? Das hier. Das erste Sample. What is it? Explain. It's a photographic print taken at Windybank's pawnbrokery on the day of the incident. From the scene of the crime, is it? Is that a bullet hole? And if my eyes do not deceive me, it appears the bullet is still lodged there. Yes, as your lordship noticed, the bullet pierced Mr. Windybank's calendar. The date shown being the 16th of April, the very day of the pawnbroker's death. The incident occurred at 1 hour after midnight, but this indicates that a separate shot had been fired sometime after the calendar had been set to the 16th. That's right, and while it isn't irrefutable, the defense believes this is credible evidence that the witnesses did fire a round from their gun in the pawnbrokers that night. How does the prosecution stand, Lord von Zieks? If that is the direction my learned friend wishes to take, the prosecution has no objection. Ja, weil wir uns damit halt jetzt selber ins Bein geschossen haben wieder. Wir haben jetzt zwar bewiesen, dass die beiden einen Schuss abgegeben haben, aber haben auch gleichzeitig bewiesen, wohin sie geschossen haben. Und zwar Richtung Kalender. Das heißt, Gina ist jetzt wieder, nach wie vor, die einzige Person oder die einzige verdächtige Person, die halt mit einer Waffe gefunden wurde und die auf Mr. Windybank geschossen haben könnte. Also haben wir zwar bewiesen, dass die beiden eine Waffe haben und damit geschossen haben, aber haben nicht Gina entlastet. But you will forgive me for flinging my hollow chiles aside in disgust at the repugnancy it exposes? Yes, on the night in question, these brothers entered the pawnbrokery illegally. And like the bold baddies they claim to be, opened fire in the new arrivals before fleeing back onto the streets. Take it easy there, Governor. You're gonna land us in the soup. We had the deal. You weren't gonna get into them details. Tell him, Silky, that set the bloke straight. I have nothing to add. So he knew, did he? When Zieks knew their testimony would almost certainly expose the extent of their crimes. It would seem now that I owe my learned Nipponese friend a word of gratitude. What do you mean? What I mean is that you have helpfully confirmed an important fact. To what fact do you refer, Lord von Zieks? As has been established at the point of their arrest, a single shot had been fired from the brother's gun. However, if that shot found its target in Mr. Sholmes, then clearly these witnesses cannot be accused of the fatal shooting of the proprietor and victim. In other words, these two men have no material connection to the murder of Mr. Windybank at all. So that's it. That's it, we didn't have nothing to do with it. We didn't, Nash, we didn't. That's what I reckon. Your crimes include unlawful entry, intent to steal, perjury, and let us not forget, attempted murder. Quite a catalog, huh, fellas? We're in for it now, bruv. Now then, let us take a moment to consider the aforementioned great detective, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. It would seem the man patronized the pawnbrokers in question somewhat regularly. Where is he going with this? Mr. Holmes appears to take pleasure in tinkering with eccentric machinery. Eccentric? Says who? Not me. Don't give me that look. He installed a pair of machines like this one in the victim's shop. That's one of Hurley's red-handed recorders. What is that, counsel? It has the appearance of a photographic contraption. As your lordship has summarized, it is indeed a camera attached to a small timing device. Every half an hour, it automatically photographs the interior of the establishment. The idea being that if a thief were to break into the shop, he would be caught red-handed. The prosecution has obtained the photographs taken by the device on the night in question. As the court will observe, copious identical prints are produced in quite desultory fashion. Rather prodigal of feel. In fact, there are 2 such devices in the victim's shop, my lord. If I may refer the court to the plan of the premises, their respective positions are here and here. You say these cameras produce a print every half hour. I'm afraid I fail to see how that would help if the anticipated thief conducted his activities in one of the many 30-minute intervals. One can only pray that the would-be criminal lingers, my lord. On the night in question, the witnesses currently in the stand were not caught on camera. That's a bit of red tack, huh, bruv? Lady Luck Luff's skulking. Witnesses, at what time did your trespassing begin? Must have been just after 1, right, bruv? Must have been, yeah, just gone 1. In which case, minutes before these brothers entered the establishment... What scene might we expect to see within the shop? Oh ne, jetzt gibt's ein Foto, wo China drauf ist, oder? Let us examine the evidence. Oh my god, das ist so bad. Good lord. It's the defendant. Miss Gina Lestrade. As the court can clearly see... Das ist so schlecht für uns. The accused is pictured, gun in hand, facing the victim over the shop counter. No doubt, cursing the proprietor to open the door to his storeroom. Quiet. One can only too easily imagine the events that unfolded. The court will take this photographic print as evidence, if you please, counsel. Großartig. I don't believe it, Ginny. In short, the accused is the only person who could possibly have killed Mr. Windybank. I say, my lord. Wonder if I might put in a word at this point. Go ahead, Mr. Foreman. Took a belly bullet to the knee in the Battle of Maywent, 1880, don't you know? Decorated for it and all that, but forced to retire from service, sadly. Course, a medal can never outshine the exploits of chaps like us on the battlefield. Yes, Mr. Foreman, and what exactly is your point? Carried on the battle after retirement... Gary Depp war sein Name. Jetzt habe ich den Namen wieder. Carried on the battle after retirement, you see. The battle of daily life, if you like. And here I am now, leading the small squadron, 6 men, all good and true. And we will all go down together. You mark my words. One for all and all for one. The ladies and gentlemen of the jury have reached agreement, have they? Is that what we are to understand? Well, Mr. Foreman, is that correct? In a manner of speaking, yes, that is the Gary Depp Squadron's position, sir. What? No, it's too soon to make a judgment here. Status report of the court, man. On the double. His lordship insists on promptitude at all times, and that goes for making decisions too. I think you will find the truth is as clear as day now. I could reach out and touch it. I wouldn't have left it in here. I just wouldn't. But in all honesty, I can't actually remember. Situation clear. Stop. No room for doubt. Stop. Truth now undeniable. Stop. I am very sorry for brothers. They are unlucky. Very well. I now call upon each member of the jury to state his or her leaning in this matter. Announce your considered verdict to the court.
Yuzai. 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 Yuzai.
It does indeed appear that the jury is unanimous in its leaning already. That photograph. It must be the definitive evidence that Gregson mentioned. But Ginny didn't shoot him. No, of course not. My lord, the defense wishes to assert its right to a summation examination. Very well, the court grants permission. So, you refuse to admit defeat again. How unsurprising. We shall proceed immediately with the summation examination. Mr. Foreman, are all members of the jury ready? Absolutely, sir. Always ready for action, my chap. Very good. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty. All the evidence clearly points the finger of guilt at this young pickpocketing. As a housemaid, I should like to see all filthy eyesores promptly and rigorously eliminated. I think you will find that if you look at that photograph in stereo, the truth will just pop out. If I have left it in here, I should think there will be repercussions by now. Mind made up. Stop. Global radio transmission of verdict to follow. Stop. In Motherland, we say never judge by clothes, judge by head. I am who wins brothers are innocent. The circumstance of the crime and the evidence to indeed implicate the defendant rather comprehensively. A storeroom locked from the inside, in which the victim and the accused were discovered alone. And in the accused's hand, the fatal revolver, the firing of which was heard by these witnesses. Not to mention the sprint. Take it from a chap who's seen action on the battlefield. That young girl's on the verge of pulling the body trigger. Total, weil man sieht ja auch ihr Gesicht und alles. Thanks a lot, Mr. Shelms. Oh dear, Hurley's cameras were supposed to help, not hinder. I'm afraid I think you have an uphill struggle ahead of you. But Gina didn't shoot Mr. Windybank. Which means there's more to this situation that we've yet to see. Agreed. You have the floor, counsel. Proceed with the summation examination. Okay, gut, dann hören wir uns einmal an, was alle hier zu sagen haben. You're Mr. Natsume's landlord, Mr. Gary Depp, aren't you? You really must stop meeting like this. Oh, you're the lawyer chap. Well, there's a turn-up for the books. Yes, rather a turbulent time we had back then. Some extraordinary events took place at your house, that's for sure. Luckily, Mr. Sholmes and I were able to get to the bottom of it all. I think we did rather a lot for you, didn't we? I mean, obviously, I wouldn't be suggesting that therefore you should change your leaning to not guilty or anything. Can't be denied, I suppose. The curse of the Garridab house was the talk of the town after the business. Lodgers moved out and I couldn't get a bally soul to take up the tenancies. Haven't had the heart to break the news to Joni yet. Bad enough that the old girls clapped up. Yes, can't be denied, you did do rather a lot, but not for us, that's for dashed certain. I suppose not. Course. There can be no suggestion of that being the reason I'm leaning towards guilty here, obviously. Obviously, but honestly, I really wish he would pay more attention to the trial and less to juror number 2. Polishing the bench, I see. Again. A maid's work is never done, not a blemish must remain. What exactly do you mean by filthy eyesores? On my way to market for his lordship, I have to pass through the East End. The place is full of beggars, pick-purses and crossmen, the scum of the earth. A little harsh, perhaps. Let me be plain. If it were up to me, all those back slums would be made spick and span or eradicated. At least we have people like the great detective working to achieve these important goals. You're referring to Sherlock Holmes? That's right, I like to keep abreast of his exploits by reading Rand's magazine in between my duties. He does wonders cleaning up London streets. In my opinion, he should be declared an honorary maid of the capital. Mr. Sholmes, a maid? It's really quite unforgivable. Gutter scum having the audacity to shoot our very greatest detective. Minor detail, it was the 2 brothers in the stand who shot Mr. Sholmes, not the defendant. A minor detail indeed, they are all gutter scum as far as I'm concerned. Well, it just might be an idea to get our facts straight anyway. Yes, alright, I shall amend my statement. Those brothers are the scum of the earth. They should swing for shooting the great detective. Okay. Also sie hat jetzt ihre Aussage leicht geändert. Oder besser mehr spezifiziert. What do you mean, look at the photograph in stereo? Sorry, what? Don't you know? Oh, ups, nee, ich wollte mich nicht umgucken. If you look at the photographic print normally, it looks as though the pickpocket girl is about to shoot the victim, obviously. But there's no indication that the defendant ever fired the gun. All I'm saying is that if you look at the same print in stereo, it could reveal all sorts of new information. By any chance, are you a fan of stereoscopes? Stereoscopes? Oh, how did you know? Let's call it a lucky guess. It never gets old seeing the 2 prints merge into one before your eyes. It's extraordinary, it's captivating, it's the height of modernity, of course. Oh yes, I think you will find that the stereoscope is here to stay, giving us new perspectives we could only dream of before. It's the greatest invention the world has ever seen. If only it could give me a new perspective on this case, I might agree with you. What exactly have you been muttering about all this time, sir? You keep talking about having left something somewhere or something like that. Oh, so sorry. As you can probably tell, I'm a surgeon. A surgeon? That totally passed me by. Of course, people conducting surgery in this country aren't considered to be doctors. Oh no. Even though me and my kind are at the forefront of medical science, the real brains in the field. So, what is it that you think you've left behind? Oh, well, that's a little embarrassing to be honest. You see, I was operating on someone yesterday, standard thing, went in through the abdomen. But when I'd finished the procedure, I couldn't find my scalpel anywhere. Okay. Did he? Surely not. Exactly, surely not, you say to yourself, don't you? Worrying, isn't it? That's what's been troubling me this whole time. Could I really have left my scalpel inside the fellow's belly? Oh mein Gott. Bitte nicht. No, of course I couldn't. So, there you have it. Like I said, a little embarrassing, really. That's one way of putting it. The other is manslaughter. That's exactly my concern. And seeing as this case appears to be all but sewn up, I need to focus on trying to remember exactly what I've sewn up elsewhere. Now, I'm sure I made sure everything was back as it should be. Well, as sure as you can be without being sure. I'm sure you need to be more sure. Sorry, radio transmission? What do you mean? Are you from the Far East? Stop. Yes, from the Empire of Japan. All communication with Far Eastern nations used to take place by mail. Royal Mail steamers take more than a month to complete the journey. Ah, but now we have the electric telegram, so we can send messages using electrical signals. Thousands of miles of cables have been laid along the ocean beds, connecting the entire world. Thousands of miles of cable on the ocean bed? It makes my head hurt just thinking about it. Ja, aber wenn man sich mal überlegt, wie weit Technologie tatsächlich gekommen ist. You are well informed, young lady. But cables will soon become a thing of the past. Stop. And just when I was starting to catch up. Radio transmission issue future. Stop. Messages carried over airwaves to four corners of globe. Stop. Excitement growing. Stop. Atmosphere electric. Stop. Right. Try not to wear out your fingers. Era of wireless telegraphy. Stop. Driving technology revolution. Stop. And people say inventions like the stereoscope or the height of technology. What utter piffle. I can't understand it. I really can't. They are just silly toys. Oh. Juror number 3. Sorry to interrupt when you're obviously foaming, but... What? Do you perhaps have something to say about juror number 5's last remark? As if I couldn't guess. Oh, you bet I do. Say that again. Go on. I dare you. Goodness, are you talking to me? I think he just might be, yes. You think stereoscopes are just toys, do you, huh? Absolutely. I mean, really, a machine to view photographs in 3 dimensions? Why on earth would you not just use your eyes to look at the world around you? It's all 3-dimensional. What a great way to appease the man. No, I'm sorry. Stereoscopes are of no practical use at all. You just don't know. Pardon? I think you will find that viewing a photograph through a stereoscope can unlock all sorts of possibilities. I'm obviously going to have to demonstrate. What sort of possibilities? Well, take a crime scene, for example. If you had a pair of photographs from a crime scene that you could view through a stereoscope, it could reveal hidden clues you'd never noticed before. What? Have you got any prints we could look at with a stereoscope? Ja. Oder? Hab ich? Ich meine, die Katzenbilder, die brauchen wir jetzt ja nicht wirklich. Naja, aber ich habe halt nur das Bild von Gina. Ich habe nicht wirklich, ich bräuchte ja dann noch ein Bild davon. Und da habe ich ja die Katzenbilder nicht mehr, weil das jetzt die Tickets sind. Nee, habe ich gerade nicht wirklich. No, I don't think so. None sprang to mind anyway. Well, if you find any, we should definitely try it. I don't think we're just going to find prints of the crime scene lying around, you know? But I suppose if we somehow find ourselves with some, it would be worth a go. Ich denke mal, dass ich das von irgendjemand anderen noch bekomme. Okay. Please tell me you're not Willem Borsevik, the Russian revolutionary. Revolutionary? Duh, I believe there is such a rumor. It's just a rumor. As you see, I have unfortunate appearance. I look like a vicious criminal. Your words, not mine. Just want to point that out. People call me revolutionary, murderer, autocrat. And which glove fits? Good day, I'm visiting London for sightseeing. I would like to take bus to Crystal Tower, please. Right, that didn't sound stacked at all. You will forgive me for having my doubts. To be treated like a vicious criminal all the time, it is very painful. People do not realize. So I have much sympathy for these brothers. People say they are criminals only because of how they look. The Skulkin brothers? Duh, maybe they went inside pawnbroker's shop. But they have done nothing wrong. That is all what I want to say. The Skulkin brothers did nothing wrong that night. Alright, well first of all, that's one not so little misunderstanding I will need to clear up straight away. Tell me something, Iris. What is it, Bruno? The jurors are chosen at random from the inhabitants of London town, aren't they? Yes, it's amazing, isn't it? In that case, how is it that there is a Russian tourist sitting among them who looks for all the world like a revolutionary? I wish I knew. If I can't change the minds of more than half of these 6 euros, the trial will be over. But we know that Ginny would never shoot anyone. Yes, so we need to find contradictions in what these euros are saying and pit them against each other. I must be ready to go to whatever length I have to convince them of Gina's innocence. Ich habe auch schon eine Idee. Und zwar, sie sagt ja, dass hier diese Diebe und das alles ist ja totaler Abschaum, während unser Nichtverbrecher, Juror Nummer 6, sie in Schutz nimmt. Deswegen würde ich gerne sie und ihn hier gegeneinander ausspielen, sehr, sehr gerne. Those two statements clearly contradict each other. Good lord, counsel, explain yourself. Oh my statement? Contradictory? Juror number 6, you've got the wrong end of the stick. I do not have stick, I have mouse. As Juror number 2 said earlier, when the Skulkin brothers fled the scene on the night in question, they fired a shot from their revolver. Yes, they shot poor Mr. Sholmes in the abdomen, I understand. Surely you're not going to tell the court now that you didn't hear. Abdomen, A, B... Sir. Sorry, my English is still learning. You are telling the court you didn't hear. Ich find's cool, dass die Maus mitliest. Oh my god, ist das süß. Forgive me, I did not hear. Ah, here is word, abdomen, part of person's body containing stomach and other vital organs. If this is what you mean, you should say in plain English. I'm Russian, not native speaker. Who thought it was a good idea to let this man be on the jury again? So, you are telling me these brothers who look like criminals were lying? They said before we never done nothing, but proof is they shot detective. Duh, this is double negative. Yes, that's exactly right. Lying is wrong, especially when lie is said by person who looks like criminal. Oh my god, the armor mouse. Coming from you, that seems surprisingly prejudiced. Prejudiced? This means when they said we never took nothing, maybe it was also big fat lie. Is this true? Well, according to the police report, no stolen goods were found, so... Enough, I trust no one now. It's not the mouse's fault though, sir. I must see with own eyes. I must investigate crime scene myself. I'm afraid that won't be possible. Yes, it is, Rono. Easily. Sorry? With the prints from Hurley's red-handed recorder. If you compare the print that pictures Jeannie and the next print from half an hour later, you will be able to see straight away if anything was taken or not. Mr. Prosecutor? Calling on the prosecution in the middle of a summation examination of all times. The print showing the accused threatening the victim after she broke into the shop is this one. Following this, the victim and the accused moved into the storeroom. Meanwhile, the Skulkin brothers entered the shop and summarily heard the fatal gunshot ring out. Sadly, none of these events were captured on film. This is the print produced by the camera half an hour later after the brothers' flight. So this was taken after Hurley was shot then. As far as I can tell, nothing has been taken. That does seem to be the case. I can't notice anything that's obviously missing in the second print. So the brothers who look like criminals told only one lie. They shot men, but they stole nothing. It would seem so, yes. Good. No, not good. You were right. I did not understood situation. Now I know brothers have lied. I think it is very important to continue with trial. Yay, well done, Bruno. The balance is shifting. Well, it's a start, I suppose. There must be more in what these jurors are saying that I can use to expose the truth. And if I can do that, we just might turn the situation to our favor still. Thank you, Counsel. Continue with the Summation Examination. And kindly hand that new photographic print to the bailiff to be filled as evidence. Okay, und jetzt habe ich auch 2 Fotos, die wir benutzen können. Another print in the court record. I wonder if we can make use of that. In Lake of Lies, many dead fish. We must find truth. Therefore, I say not guilty verdict. So, mind made up, stop global. Okay, also ich würde jetzt gerne das nochmal irgendwie. Ich würde gerne irgendwie das jetzt nochmal rausbekommen mit diesen Prints, also mit den Bildern. But there's no... Also das ist jetzt wieder dasselbe, was wir schon immer gesagt haben. Gyroscope. Ja. Ja, oder muss ich jetzt doch nochmal die andere dafür befragen? Okay, gut, dann muss ich die Dame hier nochmal befragen. Also, das. Dann müsste der andere sich wieder aufregen. Na. Ich skippe das jetzt durch, weil wir hatten das ja gerade schon. Weiter. Was ist es denn? And people say... Da haben wir das. So. Jetzt skippen wir das nochmal durch, weil jetzt haben wir nämlich die 2 Fotos, die wir brauchen. Okay, ja. Jetzt habe ich welche. How about this print here? It should do the trick, I think. Alright then, juror number 3. Are you saying you can do this with any 2 suitable photographic prints? Of course I can. Very well then, I would like you to demonstrate. I would be delighted to. Just give me one more print and I will amaze you all. Okay, und dann den hier. Alright, these 2 prints were both taken with the same camera and Winnie Banks on the night in question. Yes, I see. Tell me, Mr. Lawyer, do you know how stereographic images work? Do you understand the principle? Well, I think so. I did have a lesson only yesterday. The left and right eye images need to be the same, only with a slight shift in the positions of some objects. Then, when your brain merges the two images together inside your head, it notices the shift as if it were deaf. Yes, exactly. It's that small shift between certain objects in the two pictures that's really important. But what happens if you use two photographs that are exactly the same then? No, obviously that wouldn't work at all. Not for seeing the scene three-dimensionally anyway. Oh. Of course, now I see. Oh, I think the young girl has discovered the secret. I have. Can you uncross your eyes before you tell me? Have another look at these two pictures from Hurley's camera, Runo. Go on. Can you see that there's a really obvious difference between them? Of course there is. There are two people in the first and no people in the second. Well, yes, you can see that straight away. But now, try looking at the pictures in 3 dimensions. Alright, I will give it a go. So to start with, you have to cross your eyes and then try to make the two pictures overlap exactly. Aha. Kannst du das für mich machen, Naruhodo? Ich kann das nicht. Also wenn ich mir jetzt die beiden Bilder einfach nur so angucke, fällt mir... Ah, die Lampe! Guck mal, hier. Die Lampe ist kaputt. In dem Bild ist die Lampe noch ganz und in dem Bild ist die Lampe kaputt. Let's see if by crossing my eyes I can make the quill pens from each picture overlap in the middle. Wait. Well, did you manage to see it properly, Runo? Nö. Aber ich sag jetzt mal ja. What's going on with these two pictures? Some of the things on the counter sort of jumped out at you. Yes, that's it, you see? That's the other amazing power of stereoscopes. Other amazing power? Is someone going to explain this black magic, huh? Why did Dois do some of the things on the counter seem to jump out at you like that? I think you will find that if you consider the basic principle of the stereoscope, you will answer your own question. Basic principles of the stereoscope. As I said before, if you try to look at two identical pictures using a stereoscope, it won't work at all. It's the slight shift in the positions of certain objects that lets you see pictures three-dimensionally. In other words, even though at first glance it seems the objects on the counter haven't moved at all between the two pictures, this shows that actually there must have been a slight shift in their position. Yes, there must have been. Oh, hold fire, sir. Got a reasonable grasp of this whole cross-eyed business now, I would say. But why the devil does the shift between the two prints exist in the first place? Well, what's the answer, fellow? Come on, you're the cross-eyed master. I'm the cross-eyed master. What, me? I haven't the first idea. You know, Runo, it's quite simple. It is? Just think it through step by step. The first photograph was taken at 1 AM. Then, 30 minutes later, the second photograph was taken. But the position of some items on the counter appeared to have shifted slightly in turn. So that means that sometime in the half-hour interval, someone must have tampered with the things on the counter. You've had to go around in circles a little here, it seems. But I'm starting to see what I should be aiming at in this summation examination now. Ladies and gentlemen, the question now is clear. We know that the items on the countertop were moved, but by whom? Are you suggesting you might know? Of course. I can tell you right now who's responsible for the almost imperceptible shift in the items on the counter. Ja, das können ja dann nur die Diebe gewesen sein, oder? weiß jetzt nicht, ist das egal, welchen von den beiden ich da zeige? Ich hoffe mal. It was the witnesses currently in the stand, the Skulkin brothers. This does not agree with what brothers said in testimony before. They said they did not even have time to bull dukes from Lucy Lockets. My phrasebook says dukes is meaning hands and Lucy Lockets is meaning pockets. But is this another lie? Is this what you are saying? Yes, I'm afraid so. No, hold on there a minute, you can't be sure of that. I quite agree. The accused is a common pick purse after all. It's perfectly possible that she went through the things on the desk to see what she might steal. I think that's unlikely. And why exactly? As you can see from this photographic print, the defendant was pointing a gun at the victim. It would seem, as my learned friend indicated, that she was cursing Mr. Windybank to open the storeroom door. In other words, Miss Lestrade's interests lie within the storeroom, not in the main shop, giving her no reason to touch anything on the counter. All of which points to one thing. The Skulkin brothers have omitted key facts in their testimony. But the accused is a pickpurse. Come and gutter trash. Why look any further for the wrong door here? Because the Skulkin brothers are thieves, madam, no better, in fact worse, than a pickpurse. I believe that these brothers were looking for something on the victim's counter that night. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if you would condemn the defendant on the grounds that she's a pickpocket, would it not at least be right and proper to thoroughly scrutinize testimony given against her by two thieves? Well said. I for one would like to hear more from that shady pair. Mit dem Kopf. Okay. Can you all see now? I think you will find stereoscopes aren't playthings. You've seen their extraordinary potential firsthand. Wholeheartedly agree. Stop. Must purchase after trial. Stop. Will return home via Regent Street. Stop. Well, it would seem this trial has yet to run its course. The ladies and gentlemen of the jury have declared their inclinations via the mighty scales of justice. I hereby call this summation examination to conclusion with the balance altered in the defendant's favor. 2 lean to guilty, 4 lean to not guilty. Accordingly, the jury is without conscience. And I order this trial to continue. Yay, well done. Oh, by the way, what? You should hold on to this, Runo. You never know when it might come in useful. Twice in one trial would be unusual, surely, but alright. Okay. Lord von Zieks. You will instruct the witnesses that the court demands additional testimony from them. I'm sure it won't spoil the bouquet to do so, my lord. I've won myself another chance to probe the pair about their activities that night at least, and I won't stop probing them until I've proven that Gina is innocent. To be continued. Damit haben wir den ersten Teil der Verhandlung gut hinter uns gebracht, würde ich einmal sagen. Habe wieder 10.000 Wörter falsch ausgesprochen. Aber wenigstens lerne ich so auch noch einiges dazu, wie ich Wörter, die ich... Gut, ich benutze sie halt auch kaum. Also ich muss die Wörter halt kaum aussprechen im Real Life, aber es ist trotzdem gut zu wissen und nachzugucken, wie das trotzdem richtig ausgesprochen wird. Gut, wir haben den ersten Teil der Verhandlung gut hinter uns gebracht. Und ja, im großen Teil ging es jetzt eigentlich wieder nur darum, die Juroren gegeneinander auszuspielen. Und so viel haben wir jetzt von den beiden Dieben noch nicht wirklich gehört. Also es gab jetzt nur eine Aussage, die war recht kurz. Da haben wir dann eben das aufgedeckt, dass die eben doch einen Schuss abgegeben haben. Und danach ging es ja dann eigentlich gleich daran, uns mit den Juroren zu befassen. Deswegen bin ich jetzt da mal gespannt, was die beiden noch zu sagen haben. Wahrscheinlich, warum sie die Sachen verschoben haben oder ob sie doch noch Zeit hatten, ja, so nach Wertsachen zu gucken, was man stehlen kann und der Schuss erst später gefallen ist. Müssen wir mal gucken, was dabei rauskommt. Hier gibt es jetzt aber erstmal einen Cut. Ich bedanke mich ganz herzlich fürs Zusehen. Hoffe, ihr hattet Spaß. Und wenn ihr mögt, sehen wir uns sehr, sehr gerne im nächsten Part wieder. Bis dahin. Ciao.